Okay, shall we? Very well. Okay, well, hello everyone. As is customary to say these days, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on wherever you are. Welcome to this event held jointly between UNIDROIT and the United States Mission on the UN agencies in Rome. From the Institute, we have a debt of gratitude, and we very much thank the US mission, the UN agencies in Rome, and especially Ambassador Kipton. The event that brings us together today is a new chapter. It's about a new chapter of one of the most successful commercial treaties in history. We are talking about the Cape Town Convention, of course, and the Cape Town Convention has already 82 member states, if you want to call them like that, simplifying. It keeps growing and it keeps adding certainty to international business transactions. This time we are gathered here to speak about its fourth protocol, the protocol which concerns MAC equipment, mining, agriculture, and construction equipment, which was approved in a diplomatic conference and wonderfully helped run together with DIRCO and Ministry of Foreign Affairs of South Africa, for which we will be eternally grateful, and which has given the name to the protocol. The MAC protocol is also called the Pretoria Protocol ever since. The Cape Town Convention generally is such a successful instrument that in its version concerning the aircraft sector has already seen how more than 1 million transactions have been registered in the International Registry, which is in Dublin, Ireland. And we are talking about transactions which relate to collateral worth almost $700 billion US dollars. That is already impressive enough, and that concerns the aircraft sector. But the aircraft sector is very small if we compare it to the three sectors covered by this protocol, the mining, agriculture, and construction sectors. So you can only begin to understand the importance, the potential that this protocol has for world commerce and for the use and transactions over high-value equipment in sectors which are key to many countries and even more to developing middle-income countries. As it will be known to many of you, before we went to Pretoria for a diplomatic conference, an independent economic study was commissioned, and the results were astounding. It is envisaged that only concerning the 63 member states of UNIDROIT, about 30 billion US dollars in growth for the GDP will result as a consequence of the adoption only by those states of the MAC protocol. So you can only start to begin to imagine the economic importance that this protocol has, and we will hear a lot about this in the session. If the importance of this protocol is clear generally, it is even more so the case nowadays in the situation we find ourselves in globally. We are undergoing this horrible pandemic, which is for the first time in centuries happening at the same time everywhere. This is something which makes it quite distinct and makes it much more serious. These type of situations which bring to a complete stop entire areas of the economy create a feeling which is not prone to investment and to economic exchanges, let alone, I mean, that is a problem nationally, but let alone internationally. So if the MAC protocol would have been important generally, now to recover that trust and confidence in international investment it's going to be absolutely paramount, because countries, if they need to decide that they want to export, import, and invest abroad, they need certainty. And the MAC protocol provides extreme clarity and certainty in international transactions. So I am absolutely convinced that this is going to be a cornerstone for the economic recovery all over the world. But we will hear a lot about this, and you've heard already enough about me. Before we start, few housekeeping issues. This event has simultaneous translation into English, French, and Spanish. If you want to access it, you should have in the lower part of your screen a section called Interpretation, and you can click on that and do it in that area. But more towards the middle, where you read Participants. There you have the raise hand button function, where you can press it whenever we come to the Q&A session. So if you want to speak, please press that. Don't raise physically your hand, because that is very difficult to see with so many attendants. And very important, don't forget to be on mute unless you are speaking. Without further ado, thank you again, and the floor is now over to Deputy Secretary General Professor Anna Veneziani.
Thank you, Secretary General. Thank you, Ignacio. I believe that we will now have a video on the MAC protocol, and so I turn over to Hamza, who will help us with running the video. Thank you very much.
The global market for mining, agriculture, and construction equipment, or MAC equipment, is hugely important, accounting for approximately $200 billion a year. Yet, the financing of MAC equipment remains challenging in many parts of the world.
Financial institutions are unwilling to provide credit to purchase or lease MAC equipment due to uncertainty created by domestic laws, movement of assets across borders, or challenges in enforcing their rights upon default or insolvency. This uncertainty limits the availability of secured finance for MAC equipment across the globe.
The Mining, Agriculture and Construction Protocol, or MAC protocol for short, aims to address these global challenges.
In some countries, the MAC protocol will allow financiers to provide credit where they are currently unable to do so. In other countries, it will allow financiers to provide credit at a lower cost.
Developed by the International Institute for the Unification of Private Law, or UNIDROIT, the MAC protocol is an extension of the 2001 Convention on International Interests in Mobile Equipment, commonly known as the Cape Town Convention.
This Cape Town system is an umbrella of general rules that is applicable to different sectors and categories of equipment depending on the protocol. The MAC protocol is the latest component of this successful international instrument.
Adopted by 79 states, the Cape Town Convention has proven to be one of the most ambitious and widely adopted international commercial law treaties in the world.
MAC protocol obviously focuses on mining, agriculture, and construction equipment, which is essential for a number of developing economies, particularly those in Africa that rely on agriculture as the key driver of their economies.
In combination with the convention, the MAC protocol establishes uniform international standards for the creation, enforcement, registration, and priority of security interests in MAC equipment.
The protocol allows for international interests to be created in relation to security agreements, title reservation agreements, and leasing agreements over MAC equipment, where the debtor is located in a state that has ratified the treaty.
Once an international interest is registered in the MAC Protocol International Registry, it enjoys cross-border effectiveness and priority over unregistered interests and domestic law interests.
The MAC Protocol also has specialized articles relating to immovable property and inventory financing. By providing certainty to creditors that create and register international interests in MAC equipment, the protocol will reduce the cost of financing for the acquisition of such equipment. The protocol will increase the willingness of financiers to enter new markets and encourage banks to commit larger amounts to deals and to offer credit at a lower cost. These benefits will improve access to credit for debtors, allowing them to acquire new equipment, improving their operations in the MAC sectors.
Multiple sectors of the economy will benefit from the MAC protocol, including farmers, builders, miners, manufacturers, dealers, traders, financiers, and lawyers.
At a macroeconomic level, the expected economic benefits are enormous for countries that ratify the treaty. The MAC protocol is predicted to have a positive impact of $23 billion on GDP in developing countries and of $7 billion in developed countries, for a total impact on global GDP equivalent to $30 billion a year.
Over a 10-year period, the protocol may increase the stock of MAC equipment in developing countries by $90 billion.
So the Mining, Agriculture, and Construction, or MAC protocol, will make it easier to get this critical equipment into the hands of miners, allowing them the ability to deliver the precious resources our world needs. Farmers to their fields to produce food, fiber, and energy, and construction companies that are developing their nation's infrastructure, many of whom are still using the same tools as they did for decades, centuries, and in some cases, millenniums. The MAC protocol is a great example of how improving access to tools and technology has the potential to transform farms and food systems and ultimately transform the lives and livelihoods of millions around the world.
So, thank you very much. And now, Excellencies, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, warm greetings also from my side to all of you around the globe. And first of all, I would like to join the Secretary General in expressing our gratitude to the US mission to the United Nations agencies in Rome and its ambassador for partnering UNIDROIT in the organization of this panel. It is for me a great pleasure and a great honor to moderate it. And we have here, as you see, three very distinguished speakers who will be able to give us different insights on the potential advantages of the new protocol to the Cape Town Convention, the MAC protocol, from different perspectives. So time is unfortunately limited, and we also would like to have some room for discussion, and this is why, without further ado, I would like to give the floor to the first speaker, and I will present her, Advocate Sandhya De Wet. She is the Chief State Law Advisor of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa, DIRCO. She was also the President of the Diplomatic Conference for the adoption of the Pretoria Protocol, and she did play a determinant role in ensuring the successful adoption of the protocol. So, Sandhya, it is over to you.
Thank you very much, Anna. I also want to echo some of the sentiments, but let me first then start off by going the formal route, and to start with to say Secretary General of UNIDROIT, Professor Ignacio Tirado, Your Excellency Ambassador Tom from the United States Mission to the United Nations agencies in Rome, Honorable Ministers, Excellencies, distinguished panelists, ladies and gentlemen. I first want to say thank you very much for inviting me to be part of this panel discussion, which is indeed an honor, as Anna has already said, that I had the privilege of chairing or overseeing and presiding over the conference that took place a little bit than a year ago. On 22nd November 2019, the MAC protocol was adopted at the diplomatic conference, and it was a real honor to be part of that process. And allow me just to pause for a second to say that I just want to say that it was only possible with the cooperation of all the states that participated and the unwavering support and drive and enthusiasm of the Secretary General of UNIDROIT and his dedicated staff. The key role players during the diplomatic conference, of course, the committees and their chairs, and the support of our minister and my colleagues that made up the South African delegation. So I just really need to acknowledge that. I also wish to congratulate UNIDROIT and the US Embassy in Rome for their foresight to convene this discussion in order for us, together with government representatives, legal experts and industry shareholders, to discuss the global reach and potential of the Cape Town Convention and its Pretoria Protocol for mining, agriculture and construction sections. And I think your video that you just played was excellent in giving that insight already. And it's also worth remembering that the Cape Town Convention will next year, and its aircraft protocol, which are hugely successful, is next year 20 years old. So the anniversary is also going to take place in South Africa, I think. If I'm mistaken, I'm just putting out a hint. But yes, we just want to say that this is a long time coming. And I also want to echo what the Secretary General said in his remarks with regard to the fact that the global COVID-19 pandemic has been and continues to impact negatively on the world and well-being and livelihoods of all human beings. It has wreaked havoc to the economies of big and small countries alike. And countries are currently grappling not only with the severe impact of the pandemic on the lives of its citizens, but also on the devastation that it causes to the economies. And it continues to do so as we see country after country going into a second wave. And what is unique here, and I think the Secretary General also alluded to the fact that not a single country is left unaffected by the global economy, global pandemic. As countries are starting now to consider how to rebuild and reconstruct their economies, this discussion is indeed very timely. The opportunities offered by the Cape Town Convention and its aircraft protocol, as well as the Pretoria Protocol, not to forget the rail protocol, once the Pretoria Protocol comes into force, can make a huge contribution to rebuilding and reconstruction of economies. This is especially true as the mining, agriculture and construction industries in South Africa and many African countries make up a significant part of their economies. The promise of the Pretoria Protocol in supporting economic growth in South Africa, Africa and the world is significant. There can be no question that unlocking private financing and easy access to cheaper and secure credit for mining, agriculture and construction sectors will be a critical driver to assist with the recovery of countries' economies. In the context of our discussion today, it has been South Africa's experience that the mining and agricultural sectors continue to play a critical role and are still attracted investments despite this pandemic. This is not to say that those sectors were not also impacted negatively, but shows the need and potential for new investments even during a global pandemic. Even greater opportunities for investment and financing will be created with the opening of the African market through the establishment of the African Continental Free Trade Area that will create an integrated continental market in Africa when the African Continental Free Trade Agreement comes into effect on the 1st of January 2021. The African Continental Free Trade Area will have some 1.3 billion people with a combined gross domestic product in the region of $2.3 trillion. United Nations Economic Commission for Africa estimates that the African Continental Free Trade Area could increase inter-Africa trade from the current 10 to 16% to approximately 52% by the year 2020. It's around the corner. The fuel for most economies is financing to enable economic expansion to boom. Foreign direct investment plays an important role, but it's clearly not direct enough. African Asset-based financing has the potential to release much greater investments in mining, agriculture, and construction sectors for the benefit of small and medium enterprises particularly. And I also want to again recall what Professor Ignacio has said, and that is the independent study that was made, that made it glaringly clear what the impact and the positive impact of the MAC protocol can be. If you are representing a developing country today, take note, as we in South Africa are taking note. Our emerging miners, farmers, and construction operations need the benefit that will be available under the Pretoria Protocol. The possibility for emerging farmers or entrepreneurs to obtain MAC equipment that would otherwise have been beyond his or her reach will indeed be a game changer. Asset-based financing holds the promise of creating a world where all people have the opportunity for a better life. Increased access to modern MAC equipment at a reduced financing cost translates into increased output for manufacturers, the opening up of new markets for importers and exporters, increased turnover and business in related industries, and the creation of much needed jobs. The Pretoria Protocol presents a practical, tangible, and implementation-oriented tool that will empower our people to prosper economically and thus contribute to the rebuilding of our economies. There can be thus no doubt that asset-based financing must be included in the reconstruction and rebuilding plans of global economies, and especially in the plans of developing countries, as it has the potential of unlocking capital and public funds that are needed for other critical areas such as the health sector. In order to enable this to happen, it is essential that the entry into force of the Pretoria Protocol must be expedited. In this regard, South Africa again wishes to congratulate the 4 states that signed the Pretoria Protocol when it was adopted. It was the Republic of Congo, the Republic of Gambia, Republic of Paraguay, and the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We also congratulate the United States of America that became the 5th state to sign the Pretoria Protocol on 1 October 2020. A further 20 states have expressed their support for the protocol and their intention to sign. As for South Africa, our process of signing the protocol is at an advanced stage, and we are following our constitutional requirements. We will also continue to promote the Pretoria Protocol at the Southern African Development Community and the African Union, and we encourage other states to do the same in their own regions. In terms of Article 25 of the Pretoria Protocol, 5 ratifications are needed for it to enter into force. The preparatory commission, I was told, that was created by the resolution of the diplomatic conference is already hard at work to ensure that the protocol can be implemented once it enters into force. It is therefore now in our hands to ensure that the protocol enter into force and enable us to harness all opportunities available that can contribute to rapid economic recovery. I wish to end by paraphrasing our President's remarks at a recently held investment conference in South Africa. He said the current crisis that is confronting the world today reminded him of the protea. Now, the protea is a beautiful flower, which is also South Africa's national flower. The protea has survived for millions of years, like most of the fynbos, which is native in our country. It settled into a symbiotic relationship with wildfires for its existence and survival. The protea has a thick underground stem, which allows it to endure significant heat. In the aftermath of a fire, dormant buds survive, and the protea releases its seeds, and the land comes back to life even richer than before. The Cape Town Convention and the Pretoria Protocol have the same potential to help the Brutia, our economies, to flourish once again, if we all make it our urgent business to ensure that the protocol enters into force as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Advocate Yvette Sandea, for your presentation, for highlighting the opportunities offered by the MAC, the Pretoria Protocol, not only, but particularly for emerging and developing economies, and also for reminding us of the importance of this protocol for the post-COVID economy. And your flowery metaphor was particularly nice, and it really allows us to look forward to the future with a smile. But let me now present the second speaker of this panel. The second speaker is Mr. Dariel Baukamp. He is Senior Director of the International Business Development and Government Affairs at Vermeer Corporation. He is a member of the MAC working group, so he is the voice of the industry. So please, Dariel, you have the floor.
Well, thank you so much, Deputy Secretary Veneciano. It's certainly an honor for me to join this esteemed panel and all of you today. I'd first of all like to thank UNIDROIT and Secretary General Tirado and our fellow members of the MAC working group, and to the key officials within our respective governments who played a vital role, and to all who've been involved in the process bringing the MAC protocol to this stage. That video that we watched was excellent. It's the first time that I've seen it, and I'm so glad that we have that as a resource to use to share this important work. But today, while I'm in person, so to speak, with you, part of what I'd like to do is convey that although these agreements like this are complex and take time, the work that has been done is, first of all, very important. And thus a sincere thank you from Vermeer and all equipment suppliers, associations, and finance and leasing companies in the mining, agriculture, and construction sectors. And I'd also like to share how it will benefit the entire value chain and society. I've been with Vermeer Corporation for 30 years. It's a family-owned global specialized equipment manufacturer. We design and build heavy equipment used to install underground utilities such as fiber, water, sewer, gas, and electric. We produce mining machines that eliminate the need for blasting. We manufacture forestry, recycling, biomass processing, and tree care equipment, and machines for utility-scale solar installations, agricultural forage harvesting, and feeding equipment, and so on. Quite a variety. Vermeer equipment is marketed through Vermeer dealerships worldwide, who then provide parts, service, and training to customers. But we're just one among thousands of MAC equipment producers. In fact, the size of the market covered by the MAC protocol is very significant indeed. In 2018, the world's 100 biggest economies imported over 116 billion US dollars of equipment covered under the 56 codes which comprise the MAC protocol, and exported over 123 billion. So why is the MAC protocol important to us and to other equipment manufacturers? First, a quick picture of what Vermeer is doing in finance for the context. Most of our equipment is sold to our dealers around the world in the form of inventory, with the dealers using floor plan wholesale finance provided by Vermeer. Equipment is then retailed to a customer at some point, which could be a farmer, contractor, or government. We work with a third-party retail finance partner, licensed in 20+ countries. It's a challenge in those more developed countries to provide good financing, and it also leaves most countries uncovered, where dealers work with customers to find finance solutions.
Se intentan encontrar unas soluciones financieras. Por tanto, la financiación es un factor muy limitativo a nivel empresarial.
Nous travaillons également sur le système de location bail.
Directional drilling machines for water installation and fiber optics in Uruguay, mining machines for Peru, Guinea, and Mongolia, which will work in iron ore, copper, and aggregates, trenching machines for installing sewer and storm drain lines in Thailand, and directional drills for installing fiber optics under the Sydney airport and runways. Finding financial solutions that are truly helpful for our customers is challenging. I've been with Vermeer for 30 years in international sales, marketing, development, and government affairs, and for 30 years, finance has been an obstacle. So why is it so difficult for us? First, because every situation is different.
Chaque situation est une situation à part. Il n'y a pas de cohérence d'un pays à l'autre avec
solutions together. You need a large network of lawyers and financiers to help work things out. It's very inefficient. It burns a lot of time and adds cost. We are quite creative in finding solutions for customers. We use or combine variations of using export credit agencies, letters of credit, documentary collections, open account, rental agreements, and so on. We also make good use of telematics on our machines. Owners and manufacturers can, you might say, speak or listen to the machines around the world remotely. The primary benefits of telematics are for machine utilization and fleet management, but there are clear finance benefits as well. When you can remotely see where the machine is, shut it down remotely if payments are late, and put geofencing on equipment to prevent it from being used outside prescribed areas, it helps, and financiers like this. But we still have many challenges that drive up the cost and drive down the availability of global equipment financing. First, like many Mac equipment producers, we make specialized equipment that is unknown to bankers. It's not a car or a computer. What does it do? And what's the ability to dispose of the asset if there is default? Banks are not experts at Mac equipment. Methods of registration and holding title, perfecting liens are inconsistent, and no one appreciates inconsistency, certainly not finance. Third, the rules for remedies in event of non-payment or bankruptcy can be very difficult from country to country or non-existent. In some countries, we need to physically serve notice to the owner of record if we wish to pursue any legal action. We've had it several times where the owner immediately becomes impossible to find, so that we can't physically give a letter to the owner. We've even received notices of owners dying, only to find out later again that they're alive. And every banker also knows that with additional regulations has come increased due diligence. Often for the transaction side, it's not attractive to a bank. So by offering language that provides clarity and consistency, the MAC protocol reduces each financing obstacle that we have. For Vermeer corporately and for our dealers around the world who need to provide some sort of purchase terms or rental, the protocol comes as very good news. I continue to ask our finance manager if she will be willing to go through the MAC protocol registration process for specific deals and whether she feels there will be a tangible benefit, basically whether it will be worth the effort. And she gives a firm yes. Our retail finance partner also sees benefit from a reduction of due diligence costs and from reduction of risk of loss. We can't directly extrapolate here, but there should be some parallels to the aviation protocol, where the financing community experienced significant savings and was prepared to offer a, quote, Cape Town discount, unquote. It's interesting to note that under OECD provisions, the aviation sector understanding authorizes participating agencies to grant a discount up to 10% off the premium rate if the aircraft operator is based in a country that ratified the Cape Town Convention. So how will the MAC protocol benefit society? At least 6 ways from an equipment provider's standpoint. First, increased trade. The MAC protocol will make financing more affordable, more accessible, and easier to arrange. By lowering the risk and cost of credit for acquiring MAC equipment, farmers and companies will be able to acquire sophisticated, high-value MAC equipment more cheaply and more efficiently. In some cases, the MAC protocol may even make the acquisition of high-value MAC equipment possible for companies who previously did not have access to it due to the lack of availability of affordable financing. According to the studies that have been mentioned, stock of MAC equipment just in developing countries should increase as much as $90 billion over a 10-year time period. Second, higher GDP. When more MAC equipment is used, productivity and quality increase. And when this happens, faster growth occurs and GDP rises. The report suggests quite a range in boosting activity, but settles on a figure of an additional $23 billion for GDP just per year for developing country member states. Third, quality of living. The very work that MAC equipment does results in higher agricultural production, installation of roads and renewable energy, clean water and sewer systems, and extracting minerals and aggregates in economic and environmentally friendly ways. Quality of living goes up from higher yields, better infrastructure, and more productive work. Fourth, new jobs and higher pay. MAC equipment requires upgraded skills by users and those servicing the equipment, generating new jobs and different types of jobs with higher pay. Fifth, smarter purchasing decisions. This is not often thought of, but financing enables more value-oriented equipment sourcing rather than always basing decisions on cash on hand. Basing purchases on cash only or least cost rarely ends up being in the best interests of the user or community. This is also one of the reasons why the US government offers the Global Procurement Initiative, which offers training to government procurement officials in ways to shift to value-based life cycle cost analysis and purchasing models. And sixth and lastly, for more inclusive growth. The largest players have a competitive advantage when complexity is high due to their availability of expertise and access to capital. Making finance more available enables smaller businesses and innovation to thrive. So in closing, just again, I am very grateful to the UNIDROIT. Very grateful for Secretary of State Pompeo signing the MAC protocol and the support from the United States Commerce and State Departments all along, and for being able to join the other first mover countries in this effort. On behalf of the MAC Working Group, we would dearly like to see more countries ratify in order to translate all of the work that has been done thus far into benefit for all parties, especially for the sake of those who would benefit the most from increased investment, growth, and quality of living. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Baukamp, Dariel, for this extremely interesting, very concrete, very detailed a presentation of the advantages that you perceive manufacturers, but not only manufacturers, because you mentioned also other industry players, would have if the MAC protocol, when the MAC protocol will be implemented, and this at a global scale for different types of economies. So that was extremely interesting. And also thank you for mentioning the video. And I would like here, if I may, just to a personal point from UNIDROIT side, the voice you have heard a number of voices of experts involved in the development of the protocol, but one of them is particularly dear to us. It's Will Brady Watson, who was the officer in charge of the MAC protocol also during the diplomatic conference and before and afterwards. And so he could not be here today, but he will be with us at other promotional events. So thank you again. And now, last but certainly not least, Professor Henry Gabriel. He's a professor of law at Elon University. He is a member of the Governing Council of UNIDROIT. He was in the US delegation in Pretoria. He is an academic expert with extensive experience as US delegate also in other intergovernmental organizations, but we like to think that he has a special bond with our organization, with UNIDROIT. So Henry, you have the floor.
Thank you, Anna. Thank you for that kind introduction. And I want to thank Ambassador Tom and UNIDROIT for arranging this panel on the MAC protocol. I'm really honored to be here today. This protocol is very personal to me. In 2005, at the recommendation of the United States government, it was my privilege to recommend this protocol to my fellow members of the UNIDROIT Governing Council, and the Governing Council wisely approved it at that time. So I've lived with the MAC protocol for 15 years since its inception. And the hard work and the goodwill of the many people and countries that participated in the development of the MAC protocol attest to the strong desire of UNIDROIT and those that have worked with the UNIDROIT to improve the lives of many through private international law. Since its adoption at the Diplomatic Conference of Pretoria last December, as we've heard, we've seen 5 countries, including the United States, sign the protocol. And I can only hope that this is the beginning of many ratifications, each of which will bring significant economic and, in many cases, social benefits to the respective countries. It's important to remember that the MAC protocol extends the scope of the Cape Town Convention itself. And the Cape Town Convention is an instrument with 82 ratifications and is therefore one of the most successful international commercial law conventions in a generation. The first protocol, the Aircraft Protocol, as we've heard, has 79 ratifications, and it has had a profound impact on the financing and therefore availability of aircraft worldwide. Given that the MAC protocol covers a greater range of collateral than does the Aircraft Protocol, and since there should be a significantly larger demand for MAC equipment than there is for aircraft, we can anticipate that the success of the MAC protocol might even be greater than the Aircraft Protocol. Well, what does the MAC protocol do? The MAC protocol provides for secured credit. Secured credit both increases the amount of credit available and it lowers the cost of credit. More credit increases the amount of productive assets that could be put to use. How much additional credit might we be talking about? And we've heard some numbers, the economic impact is substantial. A conservative estimate, as we've heard, is that over a 10-year period, there'll be $90 billion of equipment sold or leased that would not have been sold or leased without the MAC protocol. That means $90 billion of equipment that manufacturers would not otherwise have sold. That means $90 billion of equipment that will be delivered to countries that would not otherwise have access to this equipment. This translates, we think, over the life of equipment of an estimated savings of $30 billion. $30 billion that can be used for other needs in an economy. Let's focus on the practical effects of the MAC protocol. Certainly the MAC protocol will mean that more business for manufacturers and all the attendant benefits such as jobs that go with this. The distribution supply chain will benefit as well. But the more important benefits are those that result from the increased amount of the use of the equipment itself. It means more affordable housing in a world where, for many, safe, affordable housing would not otherwise be available. It means the development of agricultural economies in a world full of food insecurity. It means less hunger in our world. It means more money to educate and clothe families. It means countries may develop their economies by making productive use of their natural resources. It means countries will be able to develop their infrastructure. These benefits are not really subject to financial valuation, and I don't think we can or should even try to quantify all the social and economic benefits that will flow from the MAC protocol. It should be enough that we recognize them and that we know that through the MAC protocol, we can make a significant positive impact on the lives of many millions of our fellow humans. And for this reason, I can only encourage all of you to become familiar with the MAC protocol so that you can understand the advantages that will inure from its ratification in your own country. And I hope you will encourage your respective governments to sign and ratify this important instrument, not only for the benefit of your own country, but the benefit for all. And with that, let me end my brief comments, and I thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Henry. Thank you for highlighting the legal and the economic advantages of the MAC protocol, and also for the fact that indeed you were the one presenting at the Governing Council this very important proposal, which was then accepted. So now we have a little bit of time for questions. There are two ways that you can participate in this debate. One of them is to raise your hand through the raise hand button that you have under the participants list in your Zoom screen. Another way to participate is to send a written question in the chat, and we will recognize that too. Now I recognize one hand, in particular Professor Paulus. May I give you the floor?
Thank you, Anna. First of all, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. It's really interesting. I have a curious question about this protocol in general. If I look at the other ones, they are dealing with a particular industry. This one is MAC. It's 3. It's more or less encompassing the entire life or economy of a whole range of countries. Is this a new approach of the Cape Town Convention? Is it now designed not so much as fostering a particular industry, or is it now, or what is the reason for collecting MAC? That's my question. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Shall we collect more questions, or maybe we could pass this question to, would anyone of the panelists wish to respond to this question, or all of you? Just let me know, raise your hands, and I will give you the floor. So maybe this is a question for particularly for the industry.
I'd be glad to jump in with a short comment on this, and Henry could perhaps deal with it more from a legal standpoint and with his depth and history of it. But from a practitioner side, all 3 areas or categories of equipment here can be produced by the same manufacturers. Indeed, we produce all 3 types of lines or serving all of these industries. And so you have a similar set of equipment manufacturers, a similar set of challenges faced in exporting and providing trade finance, similar finance organizations. The leasing and rental types of agreements look and are drafted nearly or exactly the same. The customer base, be they farmers, contractors, governments, mining companies, there's a lot of crossover between those entities as well. And so from an equipment manufacturer standpoint, to pull these apart or dealing with them separately would create a scenario where you have some type of equipment that is even the same, but it's used in multiple industries. We have equipment that is designed primarily years ago for one, but other industries saw it and it morphed into serving more industrial sectors and agriculture. And so the process, we believe, is similar. Benefits should be significant. And if the process can be applied and the language can be applied more broadly to these industries, we think that is of great benefit.
Thank you very much. I think Professor Gabriel, Henry might jump in on this question too, and then we have another question in the chat. So maybe first, Henry.
Thank you, Anna, and thank you, Professor Paulus, for that question. It's a good question. What happened was when we noticed the success of the Cape Town Convention in a given industry, in the aircraft industry, the thinking at that time was, why not use the successful framework, the Cape Town framework, for something broader, and that is for a broader area of economic development. And by targeting agriculture, construction, and mining, that would have a broad effect on a given economy. And the idea was, and still is, that the Cape Town Convention sets a format, a process that allows various industries to have this development internationally. And it just seemed that it was a natural extension of the Cape Town process, which has proved very successful. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Now we have a question in the chat from a distinguished delegate of Sudan. And the question is, could we possibly know the exact situation with regard to signatures and ratifications for African countries? So there was a specific attention to African countries. I believe that Sandhya had already referred to that. Maybe I can give her the floor again on this particular point regarding the situation in Africa.
Thank you very much, Anna, and thank you to Sudan for asking this question. It was in Pretoria when we adopted the protocol, a real honor that we had the Republic of Congo, the Republic of Republic of Gambia, and the Republic of Paraguay that signed up, as well as the Federal Republic of Nigeria. So we were very proud that developing countries saw that opportunity there, and that they recognized the benefits of this convention. Then on the 1st of October 2020, the United States of America also became the 5th state to sign the protocol. So I can say that currently there are 3 African countries and 1 from South America, and that have signed up, and 1 from North America. So I think we are, the other continents are perhaps ready to also add a name or two to sign the protocol. So that is the status as I understand it, unless the Secretariat has a more updated information.
Thank you. No, that's exactly right. I see that we are almost at the end of our time for the questions and answers, and but there was another question in the chat on the environmental impact of the MAC protocol. There is no time to get into the details of that. Maybe we could just say, if I may, abuse the privilege of being the chair, that the fact that more affordable new equipment in these different sectors will be available will certainly be positive for the environment, because this new equipment is normally much better for the environment, and it is a way also to save the resources of our planet in this respect. But that would merit, of course, more discussion. So I would really like now to give the floor again to our Secretary General in order for the last speaker in this seminar to be presented. Thank you. And I'm sorry, I also wish really to thank with all my heart, and also on the part of UNIDROIT, the speakers, our distinguished panelists for their very insightful presentations. And it's difficult to have a round of applause during a Zoom, but let's say that we had a virtual round of applause for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. I didn't want to speak to see the sound of the clapping. Allow me, please, very briefly to mention something which wasn't, I think, mentioned in this very interesting debate, and which I didn't have the time to say, which is more addressed to legislators. which is all these benefits that stem from the Cape Town Convention and the MAC Protocol are at no cost to the country. The country approves the treaty and incorporates it to its own country. It has to bear no infrastructure costs because there is only one international registry in one country, which is self-funded. And it doesn't substitute the national system of security rights over movable assets. It's just, it coexists with it, and it will be up to the market to decide whether they want to use one system or the other. But it doesn't substitute the system that's in the place. It will just be the people and the users who will decide which one suits their interest best. So it is there with no cost, which is something which should always be remembered. Okay, now we move on to the closing remarks, and for that we have with us Ambassador Kip Tom, who is the U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations agencies in Rome, a good friend of UNIDROIT and someone we owe great gratitude to. Ambassador, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Director General Tirado. I want to say first, thank you for your leadership. We know that getting the MAC protocol structured properly, the platform that it delivers on, and then getting it approved, it was a large task, and we certainly appreciate your leadership to make sure that was successful. I guess I'd start out by saying thank you to UNIDROIT as well today for co-hosting today's important event. I also want to say thank you to our distinguished panelists for injecting this much needed dose of optimism into our policy discussion here in Rome. So we are all aware of the immense challenges the world faces today, with nearly 2 billion people facing some form of food insecurity. 1 in 9 goes to bed on an empty stomach. 1 in 3 suffers some form of malnutrition. And then there's COVID-19, which could push an extra 130 million people into starvation this year, which is precisely why today's discussion is so important. The MAC protocol is a ready-made instrument for us to take this initiative now and to be active, not passive. The MAC protocol can and will improve lives and livelihoods. As Secretary Pompeo emphasized upon signing the MAC protocol 2 months ago, easier access to finance for critical global assets like mining, agriculture, and construction equipment will enable people all across the world to emerge stronger from today's economic challenges. Earlier during this conference, I heard that from the distinguished chief law advisor from South Africa, Advocate Sandy Duet, who explained her country's great expectations for the MAC protocol in South Africa and the broader region. We also heard from Mr. Dariel Baukamp of the Vermeer Corporation, company I know well, who provided concrete details of how companies across the world gain once their governments adapt the protocol. And finally, we heard from the Professor Henry Gabriel on the preparation to operationalize the protocol once the requisite number of states ratify it. So we expect the MAC protocol to replicate the enormous success of its predecessor, the Aircraft Protocol, considered by many to be the most successful commercial law treaty of all time. So please take back to your capitals what you heard today. Advocate forcefully for your countries to sign the protocol as soon as possible. The numbers speak for themselves. So don't miss this opportunity, especially in developing economies where financing is often expensive and sometimes unavailable altogether. So to conclude, I'd like to congratulate the small group of experts who dared to dream big nearly 15 years ago. You know who you are, and you are the reason we are here today. The MAC protocol demonstrates direct and indirect impacts, allowing improved access to tools and technology, and can transform rural and urban economies, lifting up millions of people from the continuous cycle of poverty that many experience. The MAC protocol deserves the active support of all of us. I look forward to it to be operationalized soon and effectively. Good work, UNIDROIT. Now back to you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. I think we are just right on time, and this ends here. Thank you all very much for participating in this event. We at the Secretariat are fully available to discuss further with any of you or any person in your capitals and your country, and do not hesitate to contact us if you need anything. Thank you all, and see you soon.
Bye-bye.